anchor when the winds try to blow you off course. And as your faith grows, so does your patience. You stop rushing results and start trusting the process. You understand that God's timing is not your timing, but His is always perfect. Faith also gives you vision. It allows you to see what isn't there yet. You begin to speak things into existence. You carry yourself with confidence, not because you have all the answers, but because you know you're guided by something greater than yourself. People around you may not understand your journey, and that's okay. Faith doesn't need approval. It doesn't need to make sense to everyone. It just needs your agreement. Every great story ever written started with someone who believed in something they couldn't yet touch. Faith is the seed you plant in the dark, trusting that it will bloom in time. It is what turns pain into progress, dreams into reality, and obstacles into opportunity. Improvement begins with intentional daily reflection. In a world that's constantly pushing you forward, it's easy to get caught in the rush and forget to pause. But progress isn't just about movement. It's about direction. Without reflection, you can be running full speed in the wrong direction, chasing goals that aren't even aligned with your true purpose. Daily reflection gives you the clarity to understand where you are, how you're growing, and what needs to change. It allows you to be honest with yourself in a way that no outside voice ever could. You can't fix what you refuse to face, and you can't grow past what you never paused to notice. That's why taking time each day to sit with your thoughts, to assess your choices, your emotions, your mindset, is one of the most powerful things you can do for your future. Reflection is not about guilt or shame. It's not about beating yourself up for what went wrong. It's about learning. It's about asking the right questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What triggered my frustration? What gave me peace? What can I do better tomorrow? These questions don't just help you analyze, they help you evolve. Because growth isn't automatic, it requires awareness. If you keep repeating the same mistakes every day without learning from them, you're not growing, you're just going in circles. Reflection stops that cycle. It gives you the chance to interrupt patterns, to correct your course before you go too far in the wrong direction. Daily reflection also helps you reconnect with your why. It reminds you of your intentions, your values, your long-term goals. In the middle of your busy life, it's easy to forget why you started. But when you pause and reflect, you realign your actions with your purpose. You start living deliberately instead of drifting. You become more intentional with your time, your energy, your conversations. You stop letting the day run you and start taking control of how you show up. Reflection also strengthens emotional intelligence. You begin to understand yourself better. Your triggers, your patterns, your reactions. You gain more control over your thoughts and behaviors because you're no longer operating on autopilot. You become more present, more mindful, more in tune with your own humanity. And that spills over into how you treat others. When you reflect on your words, your actions, your tone, you become more thoughtful, more compassionate, more self-aware. That's how relationships improve. That's how leadership improves. That's how life improves. And reflection doesn't require hours. Just 10 minutes of stillness can shift your entire mindset. Whether it's writing in a journal, talking with God, or simply sitting in silence, that time becomes sacred. It's where insight is born, where healing begins, where ideas come alive. It's where you stop reacting and start responding. It's where wisdom grows. Because wisdom doesn't come from the experience alone, it comes from reflecting on the. Relationships require daily effort and meaningful connection. You can't build strong relationships on autopilot, and you can't expect people to feel valued if you don't show them they matter. Whether it's family, friends, a partner, or the people you work with, relationships thrive on consistency, presence, and communication. Too often we assume people know we care, But assumptions are not expressions. People need to hear it, feel it, and see it. Love that is not expressed becomes invisible. Support that is not spoken can feel absent. That's why investing in relationships daily is not optional, it's essential. A kind word, a check-in message, a 5-minute phone call, a shared moment of laughter. These small acts build connection, trust, and closeness over time. Relationships are like gardens. If you don't water them every day, they start to wither. You can't just show up when it's convenient or when you need something. Real relationships require you to be present, even when there's nothing to gain. They require effort, even when you're busy or tired. Sometimes it's about listening without trying to fix, being there without needing to speak, understanding someone's silence more than their words. It's about seeing the value in people, not for what they do, but for who they are. And that takes intention, that takes patience, that takes daily care. We live in a time when distractions are endless. Phones, work, social media, pressure, goals, so much noise pulling us away from connection. But if you're not careful, you'll look up one day and realize that the people you care about felt ignored. That's why you must make time for people. Look them in the eyes. Put down the phone. Have real conversations. Ask deeper questions. Give them the gift of your full attention. Presence is more powerful than perfection. People remember how you made them feel more than what you said. And they remember who showed up for them when it wasn't easy to do so. Daily relationship work also means being honest with yourself and others. It means speaking truth even when it's uncomfortable, setting boundaries when needed, apologizing when you're wrong, and choosing forgiveness when you've been hurt. It's not always smooth, but it's always worth it. Strong relationships aren't built on pretending everything is perfect. They're built on showing up in the mess, having the hard conversations, and choosing love anyway. It's about holding space for others and letting them hold space for you too. Gratitude plays a role here too. When you take time to appreciate the people in your life, when you acknowledge their impact, their kindness, their efforts, you build a bond that becomes unshakable. Relationships are not about grand gestures. They're about showing up day after day with love, respect, and intention. You don't have to be perfect to be present. You just have to care enough to keep trying. Over time, that daily effort becomes the foundation of something real, something deep, something lasting. Purpose-driven actions lead to long-term success. When you live each day with a sense of purpose, your actions begin to carry weight. You stop going through the motions and start moving with direction. Life becomes more than a routine, it becomes a mission. Every step you take, every decision you make starts to align with a bigger vision. That's the difference between simply being busy and actually being productive. Busyness can feel like movement, but without purpose, it leads nowhere. Purpose gives your actions meaning. It gives your work fulfillment. It gives your challenges context. When you know your why, you can endure anyhow. Purpose is what gets you out of bed on the days you feel tired, discouraged, or lost. It becomes a fuel that drives you when motivation is low and the world feels heavy. It reminds you that you're not just working for a paycheck, a title, or applause. You're working for impact. And impact requires intention. You don't stumble into a purpose-driven life, you choose it. You choose to be intentional with your time, your energy, and your focus. You stop wasting hours on distractions that don't serve you and start investing in habits that build your future. Purpose doesn't make the work easier, but it makes it meaningful. It turns sacrifice into service. It turns discipline into devotion. And when your actions are guided by purpose, you begin to attract opportunities, people, and outcomes that align with your calling. Living with purpose also sharpens your decision making. You no longer say yes to everything because you understand what deserves your yes. You no longer chase every opportunity because you know which ones align with your mission. That kind of clarity brings peace. It removes the stress of comparison and competition because you're no longer trying to be everything to everyone. You're focused on what you were uniquely created to do. And when you stay in your lane, you move with confidence. Purpose allows you to measure success differently, not by how much you have, but by how much you've grown, how many lives you've touched, and how true you've stayed to yourself. It also gives you resilience. Challenges don't stop a purpose-driven person. They refine them. When setbacks come, you don't quit, you adjust. You don't fold under pressure, you rise under purpose. Because you're not just working for recognition, you're working for legacy. You're building something that lasts beyond you, something that speaks long after you're gone. And that kind of work takes time. That kind of work demands consistency, patience, and vision. But the reward is greater than any shortcut could ever give you. Purpose-driven action also inspires others. When people see you moving with clarity and conviction, it wakes something up inside them. It reminds them that they can do it too. It creates a ripple effect of hope, strength, and belief. You don't need to be loud to be impactful. You just need to be faithful in your purpose and steady in your steps. Every day becomes a seed. Every action becomes a brick in the foundation of your dream. You're not just working, you building, creating and living in alignment with who you were meant to be.